everyone. So WeWork, what went wrong? I mean, where have we ever seen this before? I don't know, the .com bubble? Enron? I don't know who to give the award to. Who was stupider? The company for pulling such an old cliche, or the investors that were stupid enough to believe it? I don't know who gets the award on that one. It's kind of even money. In case you haven't seen it, there's an incredible video over on the Cold Fusion channel. I will put a link in the description, which is a 20-minute video. It's an overview of WeWork, which is turning out to be one of the most interesting case studies for business of our time right now. And especially if you are a startup founder or an entrepreneur, there's a lot of lessons here, especially if you are an investor. Obviously, there's a lot of lessons here. So we're going to explore that today. Let's just dive right in. Okay, first issue. Like I just said, this company raised $47 billion worth of financing and made no profit. Okay, I mean, hello, .coms. And accompanying that, of course, is the arrogance that comes with that, where they insist that, the business fundamentals that have been around for 2,000 years plus, we're throwing those out the window. We've come up with a new model. We don't have to produce profit, right? You remember that? And, for those of us that were around in 2000, 2001, remember that? That should sound very familiar, right? We were lectured by people that told us that they knew business better and that everything we'd learned in the last, I don't know how many thousand years since we went away from bartering as a means of exchange, they told us that all that's out the window. And this is a new thing, and we've come up with something even better. Well, of course it was a complete lie. It was complete arrogance, and bang, all your money's gone. That's how these things go. This company, WeWork, raised that much financing without having a history of profitability or even the CEO having a track record of success. Now, if you didn't know anything else about this company other than what I just said, if you are an investor, normally that would be enough to make you run screaming from this situation. You would not even look into it further, okay? But hey, different strokes for different folks. And I guess in Silicon Valley and places like that, I mean, you can just pretend that you never went to business school and you don't know anything about finance or investing and make the most fundamental blunder in the book. Basically, this illustrates something that, is not particular to me. This is known by almost everybody, and that is that any fool can spend money. If you take a company and you give it financing, either debt or equity, and they start spending money, they buy property, they hire staff, they do things, right? They create brands, they do all this kind of stuff, but yet produce no profitability, that doesn't mean you're in business. I don't know how many times this lesson has been learned in recent times, okay? It's the illusion of being in business. It is not being in business. Being in business is creating a profit. It's delivering some kind of value and making a profit from your customers. The money comes from your customers. It does not come from banks in any way, shape, or form, okay? That's the big lie. And I think today, it seems that not only have a lot of amateur startup founders kind of been fooled by this, but apparently the big boys have too, right? As demonstrated by WeWork. Any fool can spend money. And, it's interesting because the impression I get from WeWork and their CEO that we all know and love, or I guess it's their former CEO now, is that it's all based on perception. Hello, Enron? It's exactly the same thing replaying itself. It's history repeating itself. It's all based on perception. It's all promises of the future, and it's about delivering platitudes where investors can read anything they want into it. And at the same time, coincidentally, there comes a fundamental misunderstanding of the customers and the nature of the business. And instead, we're preached at with this lofty sort of visionary kind of double talk. And apparently people were taken in by that. I mean, lesson for startup founders here. Okay. You need to focus on getting money from your customers into your company. And you do this by delivering value of some kind. And only by demonstrating that you can do this will people ever believe that you can do it. Okay? And that's one of the reasons why these companies fail, because it's all based on perceptions, and it's somebody selling a vision, somebody who has never done anything and proven anything. They can talk a good talk. They got the perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect skin, and very charismatic. But have they done anything? And the answer is no, they haven't. And so that's one of the reasons why it failed. Now, it's interesting because I'm a former CEO. I am a business consultant. I'm a management consultant. I work with a lot of small, medium enterprise SMEs. I work with startups on occasion. And it's interesting because you see this in the startup world, where there is almost an industry there to convince startup founders that, essentially you're going to do the WeWork thing on a small scale. We're going to give you all kinds of financing. And it's always debt financing, by the way. It's never equity financing. They don't share the risk. They lend you money for you to start a company. And if you fail, you still got to pay back the money. Okay? But they sell this idea that, it's just that simple. And so what do you get? You get owners going out, founders going out, spending a lot of money. And they do things. They create websites, they rent office space, they hire staff. But do they make a profit? No, they don't. And I hear the argument all the time. Oh, well, it takes money to make money. We've got to do research. We've got to develop our product. And yes, you do. You do. That is possible. But you got to know when to draw the line. If you are spending every cent you have on this plan that somehow magically will lead to profitability, but you haven't demonstrated anything, that's bad. Okay? And the only time that investors or any kind of financing source will be interested in you is if it's debt financing, if they don't share the risk. You're the one taking the risk. And if you're taking debt financing to pursue a startup idea, if you don't know the fundamentals of finance, I got a piece of news for you. It is risky. It is very, very risky. Don't do it. Okay, what you need to come up with is a way to start small, demonstrate that you can make money, even on the smallest scale possible, and then gradually ramp it up. That's what you need to do, because in that process, you will learn the business. I just want to say one more thing about this topic before we move on, and that is that I remember many, many years ago when I was young and I didn't have this triple, quadruple chin thing that I got going here. I was in a rock and roll band in a kind of hard to believe kind of way. And what I didn't realize at the time, being, 20 years old, was that is actually a form of entrepreneurial venture. Think about it. You are an independent artist. You create your own art, your music, whatever, your product, and then you market it. And you are going to be blazing a trail. You are not going to be doing exactly what everyone else does. You're going to be finding your own way that works for you. And essentially, you're a startup. And I remember back then, the nature of the music industry at the time was that you would try to get signed by a major label, and everybody believed that this was the way to go. And major labels would hardly ever sign anyone because they were untested and unproven. And now, the way the music industry has shifted is that it has done a complete 180, and you now have to make it on your own. With social media and YouTube and things like this, it's incredible the resources you have access to, and you can create your product, and you can market it yourself, and you can gain a following, and you can make money on your own. And only then will some type of investor who is offering equity investment, they are willing to come in as a partner, only then will they be interested. And that illustrates this principle. And the startup world is exactly the same way. You need to go on your own. You need to prove that you can do it yourself. And only then will real investors show up. And when I say real investors, I mean the ones apparently that aren't stupid. The ones that you'd think institutional investors would not be included in that, but apparently WeWork has demonstrated that they are. So interesting. By the way, my name is Bill. I'm the company's expert, and this is my secondary channel. My main channel is called The Company's Expert, and this is my secondary channel called The Company's Expert Live. Please subscribe for more business videos like this that are focused on careers and on startup founders and entrepreneurship. Two things that I know about from being a former CEO and leading organizations to success. And also hit the bell so that when I do make a video, you become aware of it. And what else do they say? I mean, you've been on YouTube before. They say, what? Like the video and comment, right? Blah, 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 blah. You've heard it all before. Okay. Second thing about WeWork, their brilliant CEO, right? Adam Neumann. Half the story of WeWork is focusing on Adam Neumann. Man, that guy's a psychopath. Holy crap. Let's talk about some aspects. I mean, if you watch the Cold Fusion video, they focus on Adam Neumann. They focus on his management style and just some of the things he did. And, so the HR issues he created for his employees, his erratic behavior. I mean, he was doing some illegal activity. And, the arrogance to say that, that we're defying all the rules, while simultaneously going into real estate, which is one of the most conservative sectors you can go into, and not addressing any criticism. I mean, talk about red flags. Seriously. I mean, if there was like a playbook for what not to do as a CEO, I mean, you kind of tick every box there. And he resigned in 2019, stepped down as CEO. Now, what's the analysis here? I mean, this one is, okay, mainly for investors. Now, I totally get that there are cases when you are investing in a company, and in my experience, I'm going to limit this to SMEs, to small, medium enterprise. I'm not in the big leagues. I'm not in investment banking, anything like that. But in smaller operations, right? Maybe up to about 30 million annual revenue. There are possibly cases where you may make an investment and it is in the individual as opposed to the business. So, you believe in maybe a younger person, you believe in them so much that you want to make an equity investment behind whatever venture they're embarking on. And that does happen. And that is a thing. And, I'm not going to say, okay, the only thing that counts is financial history, history of profitability to demonstrate your ability to make money. I'm not going to say that. I do know that there are cases when you may wish to invest in an individual. However, in those cases when you can't rely on a track record of financial success, okay, in that case, I mean, I feel this is so obvious. This is where you need to go and try and keep tabs on the day-to-day workings of the business and check up on their work style, check up on, how they manage their people, check up on how they're managing their operations and their marketing, and get your skin and just have some communication, have some involvement with what they're doing. Okay? I mean, this is not rocket science here. Now, in this case, which is incredible, the size of it, $47 billion, if you're not relying on the track record of the founder, I mean, if ever there was a classic case of, you have to maintain some involvement and some rapport with what's going on a day-to-day basis in the organization to check up on your boy, okay? On your person that you're investing in to ensure that your investment is going according to plan, this would be it. And when the guy goes in the public eye and is, responding the way he did to complaints, criticism, questions, usual things that you would do. These are the same types of questions that you would be asked, from other investors, partners, vendors. It's like delivering the answers that he did. And then on top of that, the behavior. Oh my God, the behavior. Talk about red flags. That's where you would want to go in and start doing some damage control, or at least having a more active role in how this is going. That's all I can say. Now, the advice here is mainly for investors, right? Okay, and this kind of means for founders too, because you care about what investors think, and if you give investors what they want, it's good for you, right? But mainly for investors, look into your the person that you're investing in. Look into their work style, right? This is super important. And watch for red flags. Don't wait till they're, at least in this case, of a company this size, they're in the news. It's also interesting for me because when it comes to startup culture, I believe I have a foot in both worlds. And more traditional business world, you're starting up a traditional type business, a construction company, drywall company, plumbing company, whatever, and also the startup world, including tech startups. You're doing biomedical stuff, you're doing agricultural stuff, you're doing technological stuff, you're doing software and apps, okay? And they have different cultures. These two different worlds have different cultures. And, there is a lot of startup founders that talk the talk, and they got the very trendy thing going, but yet simultaneously haven't been to business school. And what a lot of these people don't realize is that might be okay if you're, some Silicon Valley hotshot in the tech startup world and you have a track record of success. But usually investors are much more conservative. Even if you're doing this on a very small scale, you're talking to doctors and things wanting to invest, that routine often doesn't cut it. You alienate yourself from the more conservative establishment who happens to be the investment community a lot of times. And this is why Adam Neumann, right there, look at that guy. He doesn't wear a suit, all the cliches, right? But then it's a complete failure, it turns out, and a sham. So, remember, there is a reason why business is done a certain way. There's a reason why people that manage lots and lots of people wear a suit and a tie, okay? If you don't know these reasons, you got a little bit of learning to do. Now, third and final topic here that I want to touch on because I thought this was so interesting. The topic of CEO fundraising. We've seen this time and time again. You have a CEO or a founder, okay? And they spend all their time on raising capital, okay? Getting financing. And that becomes their job. Essentially, they become the treasury officer for the organization. And that's a little bit of what happened here. At least I suspect it's what happened here because Adam Neumann, the CEO of WeWork, didn't seem to be focusing on the fundamentals. He didn't seem to be focusing on operations and where the rubber meets the road, like the customer experience. And, this is bad. This is bad. We've seen this time and time again, especially if you have a founder or a CEO that comes possibly from the financial world. Maybe they come from financial services. Maybe they're an accountant. Maybe they're an ex-banker that's retired and they're coming back to be the CEO of maybe a tech startup or something like that. And what do? Well, surprise, surprise. They spend all their time raising capital and getting financing. Now, is raising capital, getting financing bad? No, of course it isn't. You need that. This is your lifeline. However, if you do it to the exclusion of all else, that is a red flag because it means by definition that you are out of touch with operations, you are out of touch with marketing, and these things are incredibly important. The value you deliver comes from essentially those two things. Okay? So it's incredible to watch the WeWork story and see how they made that mistake too. The CEO is not involved in the day-to-day operations of the company. They don't seem to have any role in operations really, apart from setting a sort of mission statement and then walking away and then hiring a bunch of employees that they managed to lose any rapport with and then terrorizing them to the point where they get sued. It's incredible that this kind of thing happens. And it's funny how everybody saw it coming and you were It's like watching a horrible car accident. You just can't look away, you know? I hate to say it, but it's true. You know, people, and hindsight is 2020, but oh my God, if you could not see these red flags, you know, it's interesting. And I think the investors, in particular, what was his name? Masa Son from Softbank. They did try and pull out their minimize their investment later on, way after the writing was on the wall. Don't fall into that trap, okay? For startups, startup founders and entrepreneurs, if you are the founder, your job cannot 100% be simply to be the treasury officer to secure financing and capital. If that's all you're doing, you got problems. You need to break out of that. Your business model is not working. You need to trim the fat. You need to downsize. You need to focus on a more simple, compact way of getting to profitability sooner. And then once you have money start coming in, then you can focus a little bit more on raising capital, in my opinion. Usually the companies that succeed, at least in my experience, they come because the people in charge, the decision makers, okay, the executive management, they know their business and they know their customers. That's really where the value comes from, okay? If you want to try and deliver value to customers, you have to know your customers. Pure and simple. And this is something that's been proven time and time again. If you spend all your money just dealing with lenders and dealing with possible investors, and you lose touch with operations and with marketing and your customers, the game's over, man. You know, that's just how it goes. That's the reality of the situation. So there you go. There's my analysis for it. I've never done a video like this before. I thought this was something that might be new and exciting for me anyway. But I hope to do more of these. And I hope, you know, if you've watched to this point, thank you very much. You're awesome for doing so. And I'm interested in any feedback you might have, because I'd like to keep doing these. I think it's a great idea. Thank you very much for your attention. And like I said before, each and every one of you is awesome. Take care.